Once upon a time, in a small cottage on the edge of a dark forest, lived a poor woodcutter, his wife, and his two children, Hansel and Gretel. Every day, the woodcutter ventured into the woods to chop down trees. In the evening, he'd sell the wood for just enough money to feed his family. But times grew hard. Food became scarce, and one day all the woodcutter could afford was a single loaf of bread. That evening, the woodcutter's wife watched the children as they slept. Her husband, who loved the children more than anything, had given them the entire loaf to share. This filled the woman with a bitter anger, for they were not her children, and she hated sharing what little food they had. "There's only one thing to do," she muttered to herself. "Tomorrow I'll take them deep into the forest and leave them. Then I will no longer have to go hungry." But in the corner of the room, Hansel had one eye open. He had heard every single word and knew he had to act fast. Hansel waited until he was certain his stepmother was asleep. He tiptoed out the front door and, under the moonlight, collected as many shiny white pebbles as he could find, stuffing his pockets until they were overflowing. He crept back inside and crawled into bed beside Gretel, his heart pounding. The very next morning, before the sun had even risen, their stepmother woke them. "Come, come," she said with a false sweetness. "Your father works so hard. Today we'll let him rest and go cut the wood ourselves," leaving their sleeping father behind. Hansel and Gretel followed their stepmother out of the cottage and into the deep, dark woods. She was so focused on her wicked plan that she never noticed Hansel trailing behind, dropping one white pebble after another onto the path. When they were far into the forest, she stopped. "Now, you wait here," she commanded. "I'll gather the wood and come back for you soon." All day, Hansel and Gretel waited, but their stepmother never returned. As the moon rose high above the trees, casting long, eerie shadows, Gretel began to sob. "She's left us. We'll never find our way home," she cried, but Hansel just smiled. He took her hand and pointed to the ground. The stones he had scattered glowed like tiny moons in the darkness, showing them the way. All through the night, the children followed the trail of pebbles until at last they saw the familiar shape of their small cottage. At the sight of Hansel and Gretel, their father burst into tears. His wife had told him a terrible lie that the children had been eaten by a wolf. He hugged them tightly, rushed them inside, and gave them all the food he had managed to find. But their relief was short-lived. The next morning, the stepmother woke them early once again. "Children, your father is tired from worrying. Come, we will cut the wood for him and bring it home." Hansel and Gretel knew it was a trick, but they had no choice. As they followed her out the door, Hansel quickly grabbed a hard crust of bread left over from the night before. Once again, she led them deep, deep into the woods. And once again, Hansel left a trail behind him, this time dropping tiny breadcrumbs. "Now you wait here," she said, her voice cold. "I will gather the wood and come back for you." All day they waited, but she never came back. As the moon rose, Gretel began to cry again. "She's left us again. How will we get home?" Hansel smiled, trying to be brave. Don't worry, sister. I've left us a trail to follow. But when he looked for the breadcrumbs, they were gone. The birds and creatures of the forest had eaten every last one. Now Gretel's cries were even louder. "We'll just have to find our own way home," Hansel said, taking her hand firmly. On and on they walked, through the night and all through the next day. Just as the sun began to set again, they stumbled into a clearing. In the middle of it stood the most incredible house they had ever seen. Its walls were made of gingerbread, held together with sweet frosting. The windows were crafted from spun sugar and colorful gumdrops lined the roof. Peppermint drops bigger than their fists decorated the walkway. Starving, Hansel grabbed a piece of a window, while Gretel broke off a chunk of the wall. As they greedily stuffed their cheeks, a strange voice called from inside. "Nibble, nibble, little mouse, who's that gnawing at my house?" The door creaked open, and out came a gnarled old woman. She squinted at them as if she could barely see. Startled, Gretel dropped her piece of gingerbread. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "It's just, we're lost and so hungry." The old woman's face broke into a wide, toothless grin. "Oh, you poor dears, why didn't you just knock? I have plenty of good food inside. Come in, come in. I'll feed you a dinner the likes of which you've never seen." Now, Hansel and Gretel had always been warned about strangers, but their hunger was so great after 2 days with no food that they didn't hesitate. True to her word, the woman served them the most delicious dinner they had ever eaten. Poor children, she cooed, watching them gobble down every bite. "You must be exhausted. Tonight you will rest. Tomorrow I will help you find your way home." Grateful and full, the children followed her to a cozy bedroom and fell fast asleep. The next morning, Gretel woke to the old woman standing over her, her face twisted in a cruel sneer. "Get up, you lazy fool," she shrieked. Startled, Gretel jumped from the bed. "Where's Hansel?" she stammered, cackling. The witch pointed a bony finger at a cage in the corner. Hansel was locked inside, crying. "A tasty morsel he will be," the witch crowed, "once we get some meat on those bones. Now, to the kitchen, girl. There's much work to do if we are to fatten up your brother." And so Gretel's nightmare began. Day after day, she was forced to cook the most delicious meals, and day after day, Hansel ate like a king, while Gretel was given only old bones to gnaw on. Every morning, the witch, whose eyes were weak, hobbled to Hansel's cage. "Stick out your finger," she would demand, "so I can feel if you're plump enough to eat." But Hansel was clever. Instead of his now chubby finger, he would hold out a thin chicken bone. Days turned into weeks, and still the witch thought Hansel was too thin. Then, one day, her patience ran out. "I've waited long enough," she declared. Pointing at the huge oven, she ordered Gretel, "Get the fire going. Stoke it nice and hot. Today we'll cook your brother." Terrified, Gretel did as she was told. When the fire was roaring, the witch turned to her. "Now climb in and test the heat. See if it's ready for the meat." Gretel took one step forward, then stopped. "Please," she said, pretending to be confused. "I'm not sure how. Could you show me?" The witch scowled. "Silly child. Step aside. I'll show you." She leaned far into the oven to check the heat. In that moment, Gretel raced forward and gave her a mighty push. Screaming, the witch tumbled into the flames. Gretel slammed the heavy oven door shut and slid the lock into place. She could hear the witch's fading shouts as she burned away to ash. Gretel wasted no time. She ran to the cage and unlocked it, freeing Hansel. They were finally safe. Exploring the witch's house, they discovered chests and closets filled with piles of jewels and gold coins, more wealth than they could ever imagine. They filled their pockets and bags with as much as they could carry and set off into the forest. Determined to find their way home, after walking 4 days, they emerged from the trees and saw a familiar sight, their own cottage. Their father sat on the doorstep, weeping. When he saw his children, he cried even harder, but this time with joy. "Oh, my children, I've searched everywhere for you," he cried, hugging them. "When I found out what your stepmother did, I banished her from our home forever. I thought I had lost you." The woodcutter listened in amazement as Hansel and Gretel told him their incredible story. Then they slowly emptied their pockets, and the witch's jewels and coins tumbled out, sparkling in the sun. The woodcutter's eyes grew wide. Thanks to his brave children, their family would never go hungry again. And with their wicked stepmother gone, they all lived happily ever after. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a like and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing tales. We'll see you next time.